inviting me.
Accepting my proposal for this presentation. Thank you. And
This is about me. I'm sorry the colors are not right, but the topic of my presentation is about the color. I'm talking mostly about the color, but it is all right. Yeah, I've been teaching for more than 3 years in IIT Guwahati in the design department, and I'm an architect, and I also have a PhD and a master's degree in communication. And I also have a work experience. I work in the publishing house for nearly 2 years. Now I'm teaching. So this is just briefly about myself. Today I'm going to talk about typography, Indian politics, and cultural identity, which is something very unique with respect to my state where I live, which is Tamilnadu. So politics is politics everywhere. It's just the same. So just keep talking. Yeah, this is the current state of India as such. If you look at the political scenario, it's just a very nice, interesting cartoon which just puts in a nutshell as what's happening and how is it. I'm showing. Okay, so I just wanted, before I start my presentation, I wanted to express certain things. Primarily because it's kind of going to, it might hurt certain sentiments of certain people, but yeah, I just wanted to speak from the cultural point of view and see what typography is, and so I just want to be politically correct. So first I'll just give you a brief idea about the politics or the democracy of India. India has one of the largest democracy, and it is also a very well written constitution and one of the longest constitutions, well written and structured. And it also follows the parliamentary system as well as the federal system, and it has influences from the various countries when it was constituted in 1947, and of course in 1950 it was implemented. Generally, this is the structure which has the 3 branches: the union government, the central government of India, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislative is where all the bills are formed, and it has to go through, it has two houses, the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, and the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha members are directly elected by the people. The Rajya Sabha members are elected by the legislative members of each individual states. And the executive and president is just a ceremonial position. He approves the bill and then it becomes a law. And the judiciary system, they take care of the law and order and make sure the law is implemented and works well. And further on, if you look at the entire structure of the India, how it works, first you have the government, then you have the state governments, and within that you have several divisions which take care. And this is just the structure of the government of the entire thing. I've just tried to put it in a simple format so that you can understand. And for example, you have the Gram Panchayat at the village level, and that is at the urban level. This is in the rural side. And 100 villages will constitute a block. Similarly, 100 wards would constitute a municipal, which is mostly in the metros, which are the tier 1 cities like the Chennai, New Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, and the municipalities, the town 2, and city councils, and so on and so forth. So it has a very good hierarchical structure, and it works fine. And so today I'm going to talk particularly about Tamil Nadu. Is the southern state in India, and Chennai is the capital. Interestingly, I looked at the population. I always like to talk about the population wherever I go. If you see the population of the entire Netherlands, it's just 1/4 of population of Chennai, and they are all housed in 172 square kilometers. So a density of 26,000 people in a square kilometer. So that's the population, and the overall population of Tamil Nadu is around 72 million people. And Tamil is our language. We speak Tamil, and we have a Tamil script. Is one of the classical languages of India, and it has a tradition of more than 500 BC, and it has a very huge literary base. And Tamil has 247 letters, and some of them are borrowed from the Sanskrit, which is from the North Indian script. So to just give you an idea how it looks like, this is composed of the entire Tamil script, all the glyphs of Tamil. Of course, you have some other special characters which I have not put in. So this is basically the vowels, consonants, the vowel consonants, and some of the loan words which has extra sounds, and then compound symbols. So the overall, the Tamil script has these number of letter forms. So talking about the politics in Tamil Nadu, of course, each state there are 28 states in India. Each states have numerous political parties. If you look at Tamil Nadu, they have a hierarchy. I mean, of course, first there was a Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, which is the DMK, which started in 49, and after that they just branched out from the main party because of the difference in the ideologies. And I've put the party flag in each one of them, and I've also put the latest parties, and of course there are many more. Yeah, there are just numerous, yeah? And each one has their own flags. Unfortunately, the colors are not right, and all the colors are very bright, and maybe if you can see, it's like this, but so it's okay. Yeah. So how do typography and state politics relate to each other? So that's what we're going to see now today in my presentation. Each of the political parties have adopted a very unique mode of campaigning or branding, you can say. That is it's very unique, and it is very colorful. And of course, this is the typography which exists in my state. The colors which are used, they are multicolor typography. But I'm not going to talk about this. I've spoken about this in my last ATypI. The theme was the black and white, and I said no. The color is also much more important in typography, not just looking at the gray values. Yeah. So okay, these are some of the works which I showed in my last ATypI and explained them. But that is primarily because of a colorful culture. India is a nation of colors. Yeah? So we have plenty of colors all around us, and this is a Gopuram, South Indian architecture, the temples of the South Indian which are very colorful, and it's very vibrant. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about this multicolors within a letter. Yeah, not across a composition from typography point of view, within a letter. I'm going to talk about this specifically, and there is a very strong correlation with respect to the typography, and so you will find this various places, and it is a cultural phenomena in Tamil Nadu, and all of these are political campaigns. I've just taken examples of each one of these political parties and how they kind of express their political agendas through typography. Yeah? And okay, these are some of the posters. Yeah, where you can see there's the first word, Amma, it is mother. So it's in black, white, and red. So of course you can see that in various places. So I'll tell you why it is and how it is and so on. So I'll kind of detail it out. So my paper actually tries to understand this multicultural or multicolor typography and how it actually challenges the conventional typography practices. Like I said, the multicolor typography has been a very instrumental tool for each of the political parties to kind of propagate their ideas, their ideologies, and canvass their the parties. Yeah, and it has been one of the best means of communication so far. At least being a graphic designer, I can tell you. And I'll show you some of the examples. Then you will understand for yourself why I'm saying that. Yeah. Like I said, it is very unique within India because there are, like I said, there are 28 states. Each states have their own political parties, and there is a central national party which has acquaintance with the state party to establish the central government. So, but you will not see these kind of political campaigns in the other states. So I'll show you some of the examples. This is the Congress I, which is now the government of India. This is the party which actually runs. And if you see the campaign is, if you look at the typography, it's just the words are straightforward. There's not much of a change, but they use their flag color as a background. And this is in Malayalam. Again, the Congress in different locations, how they campaign. So this is again a very straightforward composition. Again, if you see, this is in Bengali, Malayalam, partly is Assamese. So if you go across the region, there's Gurumukhi, there is again Devanagari, and then you have Marathi, then Telugu, then again Devanagari. So likewise, I've just looked into the various political campaigns across the states and tried to figure out how they actually approach typography. But if you look at Tamil Nadu, it's completely different from how these people look at typography and type design. So what they do is that they have just adapted the party flag and applied that onto the type to reflect that this is our party. They try to convey that message through that party flag. And flag has always been a symbol of patriotism, yeah, for everybody. Yeah. So whenever we wanted to associate a patriotic feeling, we always show the colors of flag or we wave the flag. Even when you have a sports events or anywhere for that matter, flag has become one of the very strongest graphical tool or graphical medium to kind of express one's or emotional feeling towards one's country. And that's what each and every party also. These are some of the examples where I'm just taking one example where to show you where how the flag has been applied to the various products in terms of design, yeah, to express their love for the country or vice versa. Yeah, so this is also true in terms of the political flags. Yeah, so every party adopts its own means to kind of communicate to its audience or the voters. So what they try to do is, for example, this is the DMK party, which has been the oldest party in the state, and it still continues to be so, and one of the major parties. You see that a flag is the black and the red on the bottom, and this is what they do in terms of their typography campaigns or the political campaigns. Yeah, they always have their flag colors on their type. Yeah, you see most of them. So a reader or a public, when they see it, they quickly know which political party is this. So they immediately recognize and they get the point. Yeah? So they don't even have to read completely the entire thing. They just know this is this party. And I have been grown all my life looking at these kind of works all around. And not only me, nearly most of the population of Tamilnadu, I could say, they are acquainted with these kind of posters or signage paintings. So how does it happen? Even if they don't have that kind of an exact flag stripes of colors, for example, that is an ADMK which has broken down from the DMK, which got split in the later stage, and they have a very prominent figure as their part of the flag. But what they do is they put a central white dividing the black and the red, and similarly when they have this kind of a flag, they have this yellow which is a dominant color in the center. So that becomes the horizontal strip. And this is another political party, which is Tamilnadu Muneta Kazhagam. Then again they have this yellow which is acting as a strip. So they convert that like that, and then that transforms applies onto the letter forms. So in that way people know that is this party so and so. And so likewise every party has their own system, or their flag has been reflected onto the type. So we will show you. So these are some of the signboards or wall paintings and the graffitis you can see. So every party, I'm just showing you examples of each and every party, which actually how they kind of adapt that flag theme into their own concept. And it's interesting to see that the oldest party and the party which has come, which is new, or maybe if it is established yesterday, they also adapt the same technique. So they follow the same methodology in terms of communicating their ideas. So that is something which is very interesting. Yeah. And again, these are some of the new parties which have come up. And if you see the scale, this is almost like a 8-feet wall. Of course, the graffitis are too big as well as small. And so there are various parties having their own flag reflected on the typography. Yeah. So these are some of the examples I'm just showing you. And this is not just in terms of wall painting, even in the sculpture, when they have inscriptions on the stone, they also paint that. They also make a flag out of it. Yeah, so this is on the stone, engraved, and they just show their political affiliations to the flag. And even every party, if one party does, the simultaneously the other party adopts the same thing, and they also put another stone besides that. So it's just like a, they always have this conflict. They wanted to prove themselves they are bigger. Yeah, so this is the close-up of another example, how they paint that onto the stone. Yeah, and the same thing is also have come into the digital medium as well, and they have brilliantly adapted to the digital medium, and I will show you how. And these are some of the digital posters which is made, and again you see the same political flag in the typeface typography, the DMK and the various parties adopting the same technique. So I have numerous examples of every political parties having their flags on the. In fact, all of them do the same thing. Yeah, this is in fact even the national party follows when it comes to state or Tamil Nadu. They adopt the same technique in campaigning. I already showed you Congress Eye on the first slide of a political campaign, they do a different way, but when it comes to Tamil Nadu state, they adapt the same technique as how the local culture does. Yeah. So now I'm coming to my question actually. Most often, at least I was always been taught like this. Typography has only, of course, many of you would have been knowing the same thing. So it has a function, it has to communicate. That is the fundamental philosophy of typography, you could say, in a way. And a lot of people have spoke about that, and we read about them and we follow in our work, and that's what we aim at. But I have a point to make here. So looking at the previous slide, what the people said, and looking at this, could you make any relation to that? I doubt. Yeah. So it is really hard to kind of see this as a functionality in terms of typography as a element. Yeah. It is really difficult to kind of see the communication happening here, but that happens in a different way, not in sense of how typography has to be, yeah, or how it is being seen around the world. Another example. So if you look at the lower portion, so if you see the functionality of typography to communicate, it's not just that. Yeah, I think each culture has its own viewpoint and perspective. It is not that we have to kind of follow what's been taught or been told or imposed or something like that. So I think there are a lot more examples I can just go on, and the culture has developed its own means of composition, its own means of aesthetic sense, and its own means of a layout, and so on and so forth. And it is not just instances, but it is followed across the state, where like I said, there are 70 million people in the state and even outside the world. But everybody relate very much to these kind of cultural practices in terms of design. Yeah. The next point, again, I wanted to talk about the legibility and readability issues, which is actually the primary, one of the core of the typography. Yeah, when you design a typeface, it has to be legible. When you make a composition, it has to be readable, whether it is online or print or whatever reasons or whatever mediums it is. So we always try to aim at this legibility and readability. So the counterpoint I have is, for example, this is a letter A and K, Aka, which is the first letter in the vowel and the consonants. So now if you look at this is what they do, and what is the legibility here, or where is the legibility here? Yeah. So there's no, but people know, the people in Tamil Nadu, if you know to read, they'll just read it. Yeah, they know Aka it is. And then again, if you look at this one, where's the legibility here, or how do you see legibility in terms of how the other people see it? But from the local context point of view, people are not concerned about that. But this means more to them, yeah, because this means their affection towards the party or their patriotism towards the party. But if you look at from typographical point of view, from design point of view, for outsider you might say it's not legible. We cannot read it, things like that. Because when you break the letters, it's too difficult to kind of have two colors. Colors by itself is a very important graphical principles of design element, where it gives you the emphasis and contrast and so on. So yeah, when you have two different colors and then a white space, it becomes too difficult in terms of understanding as a legibility issue in terms of typography. If you look at it, yeah, another issue. How do you see the actual letters are not this? So, but when you apply the flag onto that, again, the legibility becomes completely a different thing. Leave alone talking about different types of fonts, but looking within the same font itself, or when same typeface itself, when you have so many colors, again, that itself is a very complex issue. Again, if you look at the readability aspect of the entire poster, again, I don't think people will be able to read what's there on that thing. But again, having not only in terms of composition, but also applying that flag color onto the entire layout. This is just one of the close-ups, and all the posters are like that. Yeah. Maybe I'll just rush. So again, what is the readability here? And I don't know. So and this all the posters are like that. Yeah. So just not one or two, and all the political parties follow the same things. Just one or another close-up of that previous posters. So again, these are now coming into not just in terms of political campaigns, but also the company's branding. Yeah, if you look at various products, for example, this is a cycle cycle rickshaw, this thing they sell. So they also apply the same technique into their own branding. So from graphic design point of view, since I have a graphic design background, I see this as a very potential means of a branding strategy when there is a complex or multiple brands in the market. Yeah, especially if you go to the supermarket, the ideal thing is that your product has to stand out. But that way, I think this is one of the best solutions which the parties have come up with. But in terms of typography, I do know that it has not. Okay. What I wanted to conclude is that there exists a new way of typography in various cultures that may or may not adapt or adhere to the established norms of typography. But that doesn't mean that they don't exist or they don't function. But in fact, we have to kind of look at that as an opportunity to explore and learn from that, and we need to acknowledge rather than redefine them. Yeah, and perhaps we also need to broaden the scope of the definition of typography and make it very inclusive and make the type make the use of the type very imaginative and creatively. And I think it's it's an important point to think about in terms of culture. And there's another thing which I just want to sum up. By a great author, I like the quote very much. Yeah, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Creativity and innovations can happen when different cultures merge or embrace each other. I don't know where I read that, so it's just my thought. So.
There's just time for a little question, if anyone.
In fact, I have so many points to say, but I just asked, but it's okay.
I was intrigued by one item which occurs in many of the images, is that you have words, presumably names, that starts with Latin characters as initials.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah. What happens is when you have the Latin letters and when you have the Tamil letters, they actually have a combination of letters. It becomes too long. For example, if I have to write K, I have to write 2-3 glyphs to say just one glyph. In terms of space saving, for example, if I say my name is Ko Ramanujam, when I have to write Ko, I have to write 4 glyphs or 3 glyphs to make that sound. But if it is in English, I can just put K. Usually in initials in Tamil, that itself is in Tamil is a very different system. My father's name becomes an initial of me. So my son will have my name as his initial. So likewise, and some people, especially in Andhra, they have their grandfather's initial, their father's initial, and their hometown. So it will become TKL Vishwanath, TKLSF, so and so. So like that, it can go to 4 to 5, these kind of initials. But if you have to elaborate in terms of the local language, if I say Ko or Ka, I have to write 2-3 glyphs. So then it becomes, if it have 4, then that becomes a sentence, in terms of visually, yeah, and then you have your name. So that becomes a very complex thing. So they adapt English version so that it becomes very simplified. You just have one, so it will save space where they can accommodate so many names into the poster. So that is one of the reasons they do.
So you need Latin capitals in every Tamil font.
Another thing is that we don't have capitals or small letters in Tamil. It's just all the same. And this is how I always like to define typography from cultural point of view rather than borrow things from the Latin thing. So I don't prefer this uppercase or lowercase, but we have a different system and we have a different way of, we should start thinking in a different way of designing the measurements and with respect to the script. So that way there's no capital letters or lowercase, things like that. So they have each design has a different thing.
But the initials are...
Only initials because of this constraint which they have in terms of space, or caps, they can use caps or lowercase depending on the designer how he wants to have it. So that way it can be any ways.
Thank you and
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.